Okay, good morning, good morning. How is everybody today? It is the Monday after WrestleMania, so you guys know I'm going to be talking about that. So if you're not caught up, you might want to tune out now because I will not bar the spoilers when I talk about what I got to talk about. So many great and exciting things came out of this weekend. And I don't watch wrestling programming frequently. I'm not someone who regularly keeps up with it, but I do tune in from time to time with events that I feel pique my interest. The Royal Rumble is one that I generally always will watch. And I didn't watch 24's Rumble, actually. I kind of knew that Cody Rhodes was going to win, and then, oh, look, what do you know, he won. And then, so I didn't watch the Rumble this year. I did watch Mania. I didn't necessarily plan to watch Mania, but then a buddy of mine was like, hey, I'm watching Mania. I was like, I guess I'll watch it too. So I set up another TV in my living room and was watching Mania while I was doing all the other things that I was doing. And overall, it was a really, really good show. And before I really dive into that, I want to talk about kind of the first topic here on my triangle of topics, if you will, and that is the enigma that is Logan Paul. And I am not necessarily a Logan Paul fan. I certainly never watched any of his YouTube content, and I know of the guy because he's so famous now at this point that it's hard not to know of the guy. But he and I are practically the same age, and so it's also a good goalpost to look at him and be like, you know what? In another world or in another time, I could have been him, or he, me, or whatever the case is. And so it's nice to kind of do that comparison. It's an unfair comparison to make, but I am totally satisfied with where I am in life. But it's nice to be dang, I could be Logan Paul. This dude is a performer. He's world renowned. He's one of the biggest things on YouTube. He has his own brand deals. He's an entrepreneur. He has got a lot going on for him. And kudos to him for going out there and doing all that stuff. Whether or not he's a turd of a person or not, I don't know. And I have no dog in that fight. But it's hard not to respect the guy. And then watching him in the ring, it just gets even more respect from me because he is not just some celebrity who is wrestling for a couple of minutes or whatever. He actually gets in the ring and actually puts on good content and does awesome stuff with the performances that he puts on. And so a lot of people don't like the guy just because of their own personal reasons to not like the guy. And I'm all for that. If you don't like the guy, you don't have to like him. I'm not saying you have to like him. I'm not saying you have to do anything because that's not my place. But I respect him. I at least respect him for the fact that he goes into a wrestling ring and puts on a legitimate wrestling performance. You can't take that away from the guy. He also has these brand deals, these sponsorships, these entrepreneurial things, all these wonderful things lined up for him. His little Gatorade drink, Prime Energy, whatever it's called, they had a picture of it on the ring in the center of the ring while he was wrestling at WrestleMania. I was like, that is huge. That is huge advertising. And that is mad props for that. So I was super, anytime that I watch him in a wrestling environment, I'm always you know what, this guy's good. He's got something going on. I'm not gonna take that against him. But something else to look at and to measure is the sheer power of the internet and how Logan Paul is a representation of that. That man has 24 million followers now on YouTube, something like that, and that is astronomically larger than the attendance numbers of WrestleMania. And it's just mind-boggling to me because WrestleMania, they did the attendance numbers, and if you totaled up both nights, it was like 140,000 or something like that. And like, that is like pennies in comparison to the amount of views that Logan Paul gets on a single YouTube video. And now, of course, it's not an apples to apples comparison, because WrestleMania is a very much in-person event, and you can only seat so many people, and there's the idea of travel and getting there. It's a lot harder than just clicking on a YouTube video, but there's still something to be said about someone who averages millions of views. They have more views than like a stadium has seats, and it just attests to the infinity of, if that's even a word, it just attests to the infinity of the internet and all of the kind of possibilities that it puts forth for creators. And it helps kind of give me like a kick in the butt and be like, you know what, I need to be getting out there, I need to be doing this, I need to be getting it more. And that's the other thing, like, I love watching these things and I love being a part of the audience and all that, but I'm almost consistently now always wanting to be a part of the production. Like, I've always kind of had that like want, but it continually like grows and piles up and becomes something for me that like, I'm like, okay, it's like, I have got to figure out a way to be a part of this production. Like, if I'm not a part of WrestleMania, fine, but I need to be a part of some production that brings an audience together and entertains people. Like, it helps to motivate me. Like, I'm not just watching Mania to just watch it so I can see the results of the matches and to move on. Like, I need that motivation and be like, how cool would it be to be in a similar situation as Logan Paul, to have an audience that sees my content, enjoys my content, and wants to be a part of it. And that is possibly the biggest thing that I get out of watching events like this, is that motivation. And to think that like at one point in time Logan Paul was no different than I. He was just some guy from some state who was trying to do something on the internet, and then boom, it blew up and he became like the biggest thing since sliced bread. And like, congratulations to him, that's awesome. And like, now he's a professional wrestler, he gets to perform in front of a live audience. And I'm not a sports fan in any way, shape, or form. The closest thing I do to sports is wrestling, and I've always said if I were to do like something like that, I would love to do wrestling. I would love to at least just have like one legitimate feud. Like, if I were a celebrity, I would want to be able to do what Logan Paul has done, and that is like go in there and actually put on legitimate content, legitimate wrestling matches, and I would like to do so at least for a feud. I don't know that I would be a full-time wrestler. I don't know that he is either. I don't watch their regular scheduled programming, but I don't think he's on it every night. I think he pretty much just hits the pay-per-views and moves on with his life, which when the guy's got as many business ventures as Logan Paul does, you can't really blame him for being a little bit busy. He is pretty much like the equivalent of like Hollywood Rock, but he skipped the entire like just plain rock stage, and he just was immediately Hollywood Rock. But at any rate, let's talk about WrestleMania itself, because we're getting close to the job site and I don't want to dwell too much on Logan Paul. I think I've said most of what needs to be said there. The actual event was a fun enough event. The actual, like, the matches that they have, and I don't know if I have just been watching wrestling for too long and I'm soiled to the content or what, but like, I've not been blown away by a match in a very long time. The tag team match between Rollins, Rock, Cody, and wait, is that everybody? Oh no, Roman Reigns. I forgot Roman Reigns. All right. Anyway, that tag team match was a very good match. I was gonna say it was my favorite, but I think like the main event was actually my favorite. There was just a lot of fun being had in that match, and but I do have to say I'm really annoyed by like the double main event that they had. Like the fact that they had 2 of the 4 people in night 1's main event were also going to be in night 2's main event was a bit much, considering the fact that, like, there is 2 main events and you're now stealing the main event spot from, like, literally anyone else. And then there's also, like, the storytelling factor of, like, these people are going to have 2, like, grueling matches back to back. Like, it's very hard to suspend your disbelief and be like, these guys should be, like, dead the next day, but instead of being dead, they're just like, oh, let's just do another match. And, like, not to take away from their ability to actually go out there and do that. Like, that's incredible to be able to wrestle 2 matches back to back like that, and matches that physically exhausting. But it also, like I said, it takes away from just the general storytelling of it, and it takes away from, like, another wrestler's chance to be on that card. And, like, Seth Rollins was even in another match. He was in the main event of night 1, and then he defended his championship, lost it against Drew McIntyre, which they played that smart in that they made it, the fact that he was in the other match, they made that a part of the storyline. Like, he was exhausted and injured and all of this stuff from the match before, which helped to play into, like, the match that they were having, but it still didn't make it, like, oh my gosh, this person's not going to get over for this person. Still did not make it, like, what I would have wanted. Like I said, I liked, it's hard because, like, the setup they had was, like, perfect. You couldn't have a more perfect setup. Like, the match literally led into the next match. Like, if they win this main event, then you can do whatever the heck you want at this match. And if they win this event, then, or if the other people win the event, then it's, like, traditional rules, no interruptions and all that. So it was interesting. The, like, overuse of finishers, I think, is, and I don't know if that's a general wrestling problem or if that's just a WWE problem, because I watched AEW for a while too, and certain people will do this and certain people will not, but, like, anyone who has a strike finisher, I feel like they get overused a lot. Drew McIntyre probably hit Seth Rollins with, like, 12 claymores in that match, and all it serves to do is to, like, sully the impact of the actual match or of the actual move, because he can never actually put the guy down with it. Like, it's just supposed to be your move, and Seth Rollins is supposed to be weak from literally fighting this crazy intense tag match, and you, boom, right off the bat, hit him with your finishing move, and it doesn't even end the guy, and then you hit him, like, 10 more times, and then it's finally over. And, like, I think they need to better define, like, the video games do it. People have, like, a signature move, and people have, like, their finisher move. And if you get hit with a finisher, like, that should be game, set, match right there. You shouldn't be kicking out of finishers all that often, unless you're, like, a real top dog talent on, like, a real major stage event. And so I just think that they need to kind of, like, dial that back a bit. Cody Rhodes does that really bad with his move, the Crossroads. And, like, I used to be a pretty big Cody Rhodes stan, but I'm not so much anymore. Since he came back to WWE, I've been kind of over the guy, because he carries himself as though he is just, like, the greatest thing that wrestling has ever seen. And he's good and all, but, like, I don't know if he's, like, the greatest thing ever. And so that's kind of annoying. But at any rate, whenever he hits the Crossroads, he almost always hits it, like, 3 times before ending the match. And I'm just like, dude, like, your finisher obviously isn't that great if you have to do it 3 times in order to end the match. And so that is, like, one of my biggest beefs with, like, at least with the WWE scene. But I know, like, Kenny Omega, he's a bit of an enigma, but in, like, the AEW world, his finisher is pretty well protected, his actual finisher, the One-Winged Angel, but then he has, like, this other move, his strike finisher signature move, the V-trigger, and, like, the announcers will lose their mind every time he hits it, and, like, the guy kicks out every time, and I'm just like, well, this move isn't all that impressive. Who's the last person he put down with a V-trigger? And, like, super kicks are starting to get the same way. Like, when when Shawn Michaels was doing the Sweet Chin Music, like that was a game changer right there. And like he was way ahead of his time on that too, because like now everybody and their grandma has these, like, I call them strike finishers. They're strike finishers that you can like pull out of nowhere and potentially end a match with. Where with like Shawn Michaels, everybody was still having these like glorious like grappling finishers or whatever. But at any rate, now that strike finishers are in, like everybody and their grandma is doing super kicks, and it's still viewed as like a big important move, but it's not finishing any matches anytime soon. And so it's like, you know, unless like the super kick's being delivered by Shawn Michaels, you know it ain't gonna be no match ending thing. So I don't know why so many people use it. But overall, it was a good show. The big finale was awesome. When John Cena came out, I was like, okay, there's a chance that The Undertaker is going to come out. And my reason for saying that is because John Cena, as far as I know, wasn't tied to any storylines in the present day of wrestling. And so for him to just kind of pop out of nowhere and just be like, I'm here, I was like, okay, I might get to see my boy The Undertaker. He is like my all-time favorite. And of course he did show up. He made absolutely zero effort to be in costume, which was mildly disappointing, but like I get it. He would be a huge waste of time for him to go all the way in costume just for like a quick little 5-minute boo, I'm here, choke slam, I leave. What I would like to know is like the payouts for those sorts of things. And like I feel like if I were The Undertaker, I would probably at that point do those sorts of things for free. Like I imagine that man has made his money, so to like pop up on WrestleMania and choke slam someone and still be relevant is like, that's worth it enough for me. But I don't know, like I'm sure they gave him something for it, but like who was it? The guy Mark Hamill got paid like $2 million or something for his like 10-second screen appearance in one of the new Star Wars movies when they rebooted the trilogy or whatever. And so it's like I wonder if wrestlers get paid crazy payouts too to just show up and choke slam people. Like what did he get, like $100,000 to just show up and choke slam somebody right quick? Like yeah, I'd do that too. Like I said, I'd do it for free, but it's probably less impactful because I'm such a fan and not anybody important that saying I'd be in a WrestleMania match for free doesn't hold quite the same kind of weight. But my gosh, it was a good night. It was incredibly predictable, but like good stories don't always have to be unpredictable. Like sometimes the ending that makes sense and that everyone knows is supposed to happen is the best ending to have, and that is very much so what they did there. And they go in and try and say that they flipped the script at the last second and that The Rock was supposed to beat Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes had nothing to do with it or whatever. I don't think that's the case. Like, they say these things in order to get fans all riled up and going, and that's like been the thing with wrestling, is they always bend the boundaries of reality and television and or scripted television, whatever, reality and not reality. They're always bending those boundaries. And so then I'm forced to wonder what I would like to see is well, I don't believe that wasn't scripted. I believe that what happened there is exactly what they had always planned to happen, and they'll tell people that, oh, we switched it at the last minute. But I don't believe that The Rock is going to be having a major title run again anytime soon. Like, that dude is incredible. He's a legend. He's the GOAT, or one of the GOATs, and like, he is the biggest thing in Hollywood. He is immeasurably big in so many different ways, and he can still go in and put on a great match, which is huge. But I don't think that he's going to be having like a full-time title run anytime soon, or ever again for that matter. So I just don't buy that they're like, oh yeah, The Rock's going to be the one to finally break the cycle or whatever. I was like, no, I think it was going to be Cody from the get-go. Like, they had this entire story written up it would be really silly for them to do nothing with it. And so, yeah, it was a great night for wrestling last night. It was fun, entertaining, nice to go back and see some stuff. Mad props and respect for Logan Paul. I'm happy he's still the champion. He had a good match. And, like, just mad motivation for me to get out there and just get it. And hopefully you all can have some good motivation there to just get out there and get after it and pursue whatever it is you feel like you need to be pursuing. But thanks for stopping by. I gotta go to work now.